the February 2025 minutes. Our first speaker is Shelley Argabright, and just a note, a couple notes. All health planning council meetings are recorded, so be mindful of that. And also, we're going to adjust. Shelley's going to try and do a brief presentation, so there's a little bit more time for the next two speakers. So with that, Shelley.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are in for a treat today. So we have a full house. Let's see if I can get my presentation up this morning. We have a packed agenda today. We have some new guests with us, and we're welcoming you guys. Thank you for coming. We have a little picture of this. Crocus is here in the snow. Who's ready for some spring weather? I was 28 when I left my house this morning, and I thought, my goodness, I am ready for some more. So we are talking about the Community Health Needs Assessment again this morning. I'm Shelley Argabright. For those of you who are new, I'm the Director of Population Health Innovation Informatics and the Health Strategist. And the state feels like our health planning council, or what they consider the local health improvement coalition, is so important. They designate a coordinator. So this meeting, I'm your LHIC coordinator. And what we try to do here is really use our data to inform our strategies and move us into some actionable work that improve health outcomes. And so we're going to go ahead and dive into our assessment again. If I can figure out how to move forward. There we go. So actually, let me go back. I just want to remind everyone, because we do have some new folks here, our Community Health Needs Assessment is done every 3 years. And at the bottom of this screen, you see that we have our partners. So Mountain Laurel Medical Center, WVU Medicine, Community Action, the local behavioral health authority, and the local management board. We work together to build and present this assessment for you all. So we do primary data collection, and these are our survey results. So 1,513 people in the regional area and 1,430 just in Garrett County let us know that access to healthcare was their top priority, and that jobs, wages, and economic development was the second. You can see there 716 people reported that that was what was most meaningful to them on the survey. And those are the top 5: affordable housing, mental health, and health insurance. And when we do the primary survey, we also do some focus groups. So this past year, we did 7 different focus groups around the county. And we start off every focus group. They're comprised of people from every socioeconomic status, and there's just a mix of folks in there. We ask everyone, what does a healthy community look and feel like for you? That's how we kick it off. And you can imagine that there are a lot of different answers to that. And that's what we want. And so we take those priority areas and we say, okay, for jobs, wages, and economic development, what does that mean? And so you can imagine it means something very different to someone who's gainfully employed and who has a career than it does someone who might be looking for a job or who is under. And so really insufficient income forces people to make impossible choices with far-reaching consequences. And this really became an overarching theme across all of our focus groups. And it touched every priority area, because when people don't have the proper income, they can't really worry about going to the gym or affording nutritious food. They struggle with transportation, childcare, housing. So it really touches everything that we consider when we're trying to think about what a healthy community looks like. So what we do then after that is we collect all the secondary data we can find. And so I mentioned last meeting that, and I kind of presented a couple different things about our secondary data analysis. This is a very large report, and this is just a screenshot of one indicator that I pulled, and it's about employment and its job sectors. So essentially in this report, now this is from 2022, this is our latest data, it's from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, and it just kind of gives you a point there where it says, okay, retail trade, healthcare and social assistance, and government enterprises really make up their top 3 job sectors according to this data. And it is the largest sector, as I mentioned, is retail trade. It employs 2,219 people, and the average wage for that industry is $32,000. Healthcare and social assistance and government enterprises is the next largest sectors, and you can see their employees about the same amount, 1,848 and 1,776 workers. And we have our Western Island Consortium here because he's one of the experts in what we have in the area, and he's going to talk a little bit more specifically about jobs, sectors, and things like that, so we can dig in a little bit deeper. And then the next indicator that I pulled from our secondary analysis is just business creation. So everyone's like, well, in the focus group, right, we have a lot of discussions about what's here. How can we find career jobs? How can we create pathways through the college and other things so that people stay and are gainfully employed? And business creation is part of that big picture. And so you can see here in Garrett County, it lists how many established businesses there are, how many established businesses died. Bursts and deaths is how it is recorded here, and then the net change. And this particular document is from the U.S. Census Business Dynamics Statistics. So this is a 2011 through 2022. This is over a 10-year period. Yes.
Sorry, you might not have this, and that's okay if you don't. I see that Cumberland, or Allegheny next door there, they're the same shade of red. You wouldn't happen to know how they stack up to us, do you?
I didn't pull that one, but it's in our report. And we can certainly do that, and I can email it to you. So, you know, it's one thing to sit in a room like this and just look at data points, and that's really important, and we're really thankful we're able to do that and have the data to do that. It's quite another when we get local experts in and we dive in a little bit deeper and think about our results from our focus groups. Sure. And we're asking people to tell us their experiences and what they think. And sometimes the knowledge or the information they have might not be up to date. It might not be the latest data. They might not know about a big project coming to town and things like that. And so it's important for us as agency representatives to dig into that and understand what's actually happening. So in the data narrative report, that's the first part of the assessment. You can read a summary and analysis of that focus group in this particular sector, and then ask yourself, is that really what's happening? Do we need more information? And what areas and data points do we really need to organize ourselves around? Because what we're trying to do is create our community health improvement plan. And so we use the assessment as our foundational data, and then we work together across sectors in a group like this to define some of those strategies that bolster jobs, wages, and economic development. How do we do that? How are other communities doing that? And so this is the first in a two-part series where we're going to dig deep into what that means in our community. And so, as promised, I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker. And we want to come on up, Tom. We want to welcome you and let you get into our presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can just advance.
Yep. That'll work. My name's Tom Tanis with Western Maryland Consortium. I have only been there about a year, but now I am what you got. So
I apologize in advance. I will try to keep this as brief as possible. You will notice this morning that we do have 3 locations. We cover 3 counties. We cover Washington County, Cumberland, over there in Allegheny County, and then, of course, here in McHenry. What we do, see if we, there we go. What we do is we help folks to re-educate. In a lot of cases, you'll see that we are funded by state, federal, and local grants. What we try to do is help folks that are looking for a job to find a new job. I was asked to kind of give just a brief overview on what we do before we get into the local statistics that we see. And these grants are often used to pay for courses through Garrett College and other places like that. We can also cover some courses in Allegheny County as well. The majority of the courses that we cover are courses that are what we call certificate courses, welding programs, things along those lines, and we'll discuss a little bit more of that here in a few minutes. Western Maryland Consortium has been around since 1974, doing pretty much the same thing under various different names and different programs. Some of the program names that we will mention throughout this have changed over the years. The main function behind them has not, though. The ways that we try to help folks when they call our office or they come into our office, the first thing that we want to do is first try to assess their needs, figure out what it is they're trying to do. If they are looking for a job, one of the first things that we try to do for them is to make sure their resume is up to date. We'll sit down with them, see if there are any improvements that could be made. Myself and my coworker, there are 2 of us located in McHenry. Her name is Danielle Roth. And what we are in the process of becoming certified for resume writing. It's a process, you know how that goes. And so we try to help them with that, get it lined out a little bit. We've got some folks in Hagerstown that are in the process of training us, teaching us how to do a better job at that. Basic job search. We're not quite as skilled as the American Job Center, but if somebody is looking for a job in the area, they tell us what they're looking for. And we have access to what's called Maryland Workforce Exchange. And it is a site that lists jobs throughout the state. You can search for it. You just go online and type in Maryland Workforce Exchange. You can search jobs based on zip code and the type of job that you're looking for. You can see other programs that we take care of. The state approved trainings that's highlighted right there, the one with the asterisk next to it, the funding must be approved by the state before we can take care of it. We do have a limited amount of money that we can use. We'll discuss that some more here in a few minutes. Down toward the bottom of the list, on the job training, these are situations when a current employer, this individual is already working and they are looking for an opportunity to help improve their skills. We can often help with that. Incumbent worker training is something very similar, but the individual is new with the company. They have to have been there a minimum of 6 months. We actually just did an incumbent worker training with the county. It was pretty interesting. We were able to pay for 2 young men to go to mountaintop truck driving school up there and get their CDL. Supportive services is the ability to cover, in some cases, uniforms if their new career requires those and things like that. This is one of our standard flyers that we hand out. You'll notice over in the gold box over there on the side that it says up to $6,000. That is our maximum. That is the maximum for training. The supportive services is a separate bucket of money. You'll see some of the courses that we can cover on that, but this is just a generic flyer that we hand out to a lot of folks. In order for us to be able to help someone, the first qualification is they must be authorized to work in the United States, whether that's a U.S. citizen or somebody with a work visa or something along those lines. We don't get too many of those. Truthfully, the majority of everybody here is a natural born citizen. If it is a male, and that is with today's society a little bit different. You have to, it is whatever you were born. If the individual was born an identified male on their birth certificate, they must register with Selective Service within 6 months. I think it is 30 days of their 18th birthday. They have up until the time they turn 26 before the penalties kick in. And those, you don't want to go there. They are to provide required documentation. There is a list of those, and if anybody wants them, you can get with Miss Shelley. She'll send me a message. I'll be happy to send the list. It is a pretty extensive list. They must take a standardized assessment test that is administered by the college. They call it a TABE, a test of adult basic education. Nothing major. It's designed to measure their reading and mathematics skills. It's dependent upon their age as to which ones they are required to take. If they are under 26, they are required to take both math and reading. If they're over 26, reading only. The WIOA policy that is mentioned down there, if anybody wants more information on that, you're welcome to scan the QR code that's on the screen. Ms. Shelley, you're welcome to share this slide deck any way that you would like to, and if you need it narrated, just let me know. What we are looking for is we're looking for individuals that have what we call barriers. You see a pretty significant list of them up on here. The main way that we help folks that have some type of disability, it must be a documented disability. The disability can be documented by a letter from a doctor or a clinical psychologist type individual, or we can get a list on pharmacy letterhead. It's got to be on letterhead for us to be able to accept it. If the individuals are on SNAP, it's almost a guaranteed approval. I say almost because there are rare occasions. What we're looking for is folks that are unable to progress or proceed with their life the way that they want to because of the things that are stopping them. And this is a good number of them. That skills deficient that you see listed on there, that is actually determined by the TABE test. If somebody has an extremely low reading score, it could hinder them from finding employment like they would want. Mathematics, again, is only applicable in certain cases. The offender status that's on there, the only thing that would prevent us from being able to help an offender is if they have an open current court case. We are unable to do anything until they've been adjudicated and it's all taken care of. We also have what we call our Summer Youth Employment Program. It takes place between early June and late August. We try to keep them as busy as we can. It's usually 6 to 8 weeks. This year it's only 6. It all depends on the funding that's available. And what we do is we try to place young people. Our definition of young people is a bit on the broad side. Ages 14 to 24, as you see on the screen. Depending on the age, they fall into different categories, different programs. And what we try to do is place them with employers around the county. We look at it as a mentorship program. It gives them an opportunity for the employer to work with them, teach them what it means to have a job, teach them what is expected of someone that has a job. Many of the job sites that we have, and these are examples, obviously you'll notice I didn't put names of individual companies. I did that because I don't want to forget somebody. We have diners, daycares, food service, you name it. And we're always looking for somebody new to be a work site. To be a work site for us is fairly simple. We send you a sheet of paper, you fill it out, telling us what jobs you have available, how many people you're looking for. You send it back to us, congratulations, you're on the list. The cool thing about it is we take care of the wages and workman's comp for the individuals that we send to you, for the youth. All you have to do is find something for them to do. Generally, with most businesses, that's not too difficult. As far as job market insights, what we are seeing right now, and this is information from this year, the average age that you see up there, these are individuals that actually walk through our door. This year, the average age has been 39 years old. Obviously, we have younger, we have older, and we are calculating summer youth programs separate so that it doesn't skew these numbers. We want to know what the normal is. We want to know what summer is. We want to know what outreach programs average age are. And so we see this here. The information that's on red on the screen there and the QR code that's just to the right of it, that is a link to Maryland Workforce Exchange information. You're welcome to take a look at that. It is based on this county. When I pulled the data the other day on the 24th, there were 419 openings in the county. That's a lot, to be quite honest with you, but it's not as many as it could be. We know there are still people looking. The largest demand fields that we are seeing are folks looking for CDL training and the medical fields. Whether that's phlebotomy or full-blown RN, we can usually take care of either or. RN is one of the ones that's a little bit different. If the expense of the course is over $6,000, the individual that's applying for it must pay first, and we cover the final $6,000. That's to make sure that the individual is going to go through with it and take care of their part of things. That's just something for you to think of. The sources of referral, we work with a great many different agencies throughout the county. You see some of them on the screen. We're always looking for somebody else to make referrals. One of the biggest referrers that we have is actually the college itself. An individual comes over to the college. They want to apply for a program, we'll say welding program. They go through there, they talk to their counselors over there. They said, "Do you have funding for it?" "No, I don't know how I'm going to pay for it." "Well, here's a phone number, call this guy." And they call our office, we bring them in, we fill out the paperwork, we run it through, we see what happens. It's a two-step process. We get the individual approved for training, then we get the training approved for the individual. The second one is more of a formality than anything. I have not seen anybody not funded at that particular stage. The first stage is usually the biggest issue, and income is almost always the barrier that stops us from being able to help them. The other QR code in the bottom right-hand corner there is actually our referral page. If you have someone that needs assistance, someone that you would like us to contact, or if you have an individual that wants to be helped, they can go to the website. You can go to the website. It makes no difference. We will reach out to them and see how we can help them. Any questions from you guys? Here's our contact information, including links to our Facebook and website, and we highly encourage you to take a look at them. Any questions this morning? Yes, ma'am.
So both the federal government and the state are cutting back on a lot of funding. Have
Yes,
you
ma'am.
seen any of that yet, or are you
Not yet.
anticipating it? Not yet.
Not yet. We have been told that the impact is supposed to be low, but what low is, that's a very good question. We don't really know. Right now, we're business as usual. We keep taking care of the people that come into the office and the folks that call us. There is a secondary thing that I did not mention. I neglected to put it in there. If an individual is simply looking for job service and they're looking for what we call core services, they need a new resume, they need job search, they don't have to be enrolled. There are no qualifications for that. We'll help anybody. It doesn't matter to us. I've got a gentleman that I helped just a few weeks ago to rewrite his resume. He is an executive in the IT division of things. So he's been around a while. He is definitely not what you would call low income. If he was applying for a program, he would not have qualified, but we don't discriminate when it comes to that. If somebody needs basic assistance, we'll help them out. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How long will you work with the person? The paperwork that you list up there and qualifications are so extensive, it would take months or years to carry somebody through the system where they come off the street, "I need a job," to where you can actually have them somewhere where they're working.
If they're simply looking for a job, it's instant. There is no delay. We instantly start looking. If they are going through training and they're looking for funding, the average approval process is somewhere between a month and 2 months. And that's average. And sometimes there are delays. I've got one gentleman that I'm working with that I've been working with him for 6 months. Myself and my predecessor actually worked with him 6 months or so last year before he vanished. You know how that goes. Sometimes people just disappear. But on average, from the time that we start with somebody, there is an aspect of our program that's a little bit different. Once somebody finishes their training, and the max that we can cover is 18 months worth of training. That is the maximum. When they get done with their training, we follow up with them for 1 year. We call their employer once a quarter. And is this individual still working in there? For the first time that we call them, are they working there? How much are they making? Are you offering them insurance? Those kinds of basic informational things. The state tracks that kind of information. I can't imagine why. It's not important or anything. So you know how that goes. So they want to know. And so we keep track of that for them and we turn it back into them. On the second, third, and fourth follow-up, it's just a simple matter. Are they still there? If they're still there, are they still making the same amount of money? Congratulations. Thank you. Talk to you next quarter. And when they get to the end of it, we're done. We don't track them anymore after that. If they ever need further assistance, they can come back at any time. Any other questions?
Yes, a quick question. It's something that I need to fix real quick. So thank you for coming and presenting this, because I feel like I learned an awful lot. So we make referrals, but we don't necessarily have all the details and full scope. So in thinking about the health provider shortage issue that it kind of coexists with all of these other discussions, is there a really good resource that looks at, okay, here's what you can offer, here's what the rural reimbursement programs are at the state? Like, is there any kind of document or resource that looks at that intersection? Because I think that a lot of times, you know, what we get when we make referrals and people say, oh, I want to be a nurse, or I want to do this, it looks very cost prohibitive, particularly for people who are making some of the wages that we looked at. So looking at that transition, is that something that does exist, that could exist, or is that a service that you could help facilitate people who come to your office to understand, okay, here's how you could put a package together that can make this possible for you?
If there is, I'm not aware of it.
Okay.
I've never seen it. I think it would be a wonderful tool, to be quite honest with you. There are 3 pieces of literature back here for you. If you guys would like one, this one is designed specifically for employers. This one is designed for individuals that are seeking assistance, and it simply says you're in charge of your career. The other one is for youth. Remember, our definition of youth is anybody 14 to 24. And you guys are welcome to grab a copy back there. Again, Miss Shelley, if for some reason you run out, just let me know. I drive not too far from here on the way to the office every morning, so it's not a big deal. Any last questions? Miss Shelley, it's all yours.
Okay, well, we're gonna turn it over to Fair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom. Actually, I was employed by the Western Maryland Construction. It's my first job as a job coach. So things come full circle. Our next speaker is Steve Kelly from Economic Development.
All right. Well, thank you for. Okay. So we need to be wrapping up at 1:45, right? So you can do the agency updates. Is that what I'm going to say? All right. I'll talk real fast if y'all listen. All right. I don't want to get ahead of you, but couple qualifiers. I'm from Kentucky. So if you have trouble understanding me, you know, I don't know if anybody here speaks Kentucky or not, but we'll have a translator. So bear with me. I get all the time that I've got a strange accent. I think it's, you know, I think it's you guys, but I don't know for sure. But anyway, with that said, Kentucky's got a big day tomorrow. I don't know if any of y'all are following basketball or not, but we're playing Tennessee. And that's a big game. Kentucky versus Tennessee. That's our big rival. And I need you all to be, nobody here from Tennessee, are there? Okay, we don't care much for Tennessee. And online, if you're from Tennessee online, I apologize. But you know, we just don't get along very well with Tennessee. In UK basketball, we're all about winning, all about beating the Big Orange. You know, we're all about. Actually, we had I don't know if y'all remember this, but there was this moron in Kentucky, and he moved and went down to Tennessee, and it raised the average IQ in both states. I'm sorry. Getting past that up, we pick on Tennessee. Enough of the Kentucky, Tennessee. I'm economic development, community development is my title, director of community development in Garrett County. I'm thankful to do that. I've got a career that was an elected official back home. Did a lot with economic development and business development. And after, you know, when a politician gets beat, there's no room for a washed up politician. So I had to look for other work to do. And I was fortunate enough to be able to come to Garrett County. One of my bosses is here, Larry Tishnell. He's one of our commissioners. So I'm thankful to be able to do this. So director of community development, first of all, it's a big office. It's a lot of things that are underneath me, but they've asked me to talk about economic development today. And now that is a very difficult thing because I'm going to ask you all a question, and hopefully I'll get some class participation. Somebody tell me, what is economic development? Give me some ideas. What is economic development? Who'd like to start? It's not a trick question. What do you think? We have somebody from
Somebody joining.
Okay, somebody joining?
I'll throw my hat in the ring.
Yes,
Sustainability and growth.
sustainability and growth. All right. What else is economic development? I saw your on your needs assessment or your survey. The takeaway I saw was what?
New business.
New business. I saw low wages,
Jobs.
lack of opportunity. What was that?
Training.
Training. What else is economic development?
Lifting all the boats.
Lifting all the boats. That's pretty good. So the rising tide lifts all the boats, right? Okay, well, I like to say at the end of the day, after everything's been considered, economic development is anything that improves the quality of life for our residents and our visitors. So anything. So that's a big, broad umbrella. You know, it includes not only business, industry recruitment, business recruitment, workforce training, the typical things, you know, that we do, housing, business parks, infrastructure, broadband, but it also includes arts and entertainment, parks and recreation, healthcare, education, childcare. Anything that, any decision we do, any action we take that improves the quality of life for our residents and our visitors, that's economic development. Now, in the government, we don't focus on that broad of a picture of economic development. In my department, we have four areas that we look at. We have business development, which includes agricultural development. It includes business retention and expansion. Kim kind of helps with the housing. She helps with workforce. She does a lot with our industrial parks and all the infrastructure. So that's our business development portion of economic development. Then we have our planning and zoning department. And people don't think of that as economic development, but it absolutely, you're thinking, you know, 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road, what is this place going to look like? What do we want it to look like? How do we keep it going? Somebody said growth. I don't know. Somebody said that part of economic development. So planning and zoning is one thing. In that department, they have permits and inspections. They also have land management, which is our parks and recreation, our trails, that part of quality of life. They also have watershed coordinator. They have stormwater management. So that's all part of our planning and zoning department. Then we have the airport is underneath community development. And that's a recent addition to the department. We had a former director that retired, and they looked at the airport and they said, "Now what are we going to do with the airport now that he's gone?" And they looked around and they said, "Well, how about the new guy? Let's get it to him. He can't say no. You know, new people, they're thankful, right? So they can't say no to take on new stuff. So we've taken the airport, and it logically is a great part of economic development because it's like an interstate. You drive to Garrett County, you get off the interstate, come to Garrett County. Well, that's the interstate for aircraft. You've got to have an off ramp to get into Garrett County, and we get a lot of activity that comes to that off ramp and spends a lot of money here in Garrett County that in turn fuels economic development. So that's my department in a nutshell. I also have the liquor control board, but they didn't know where to put it, so it just kind of fell there. So it's underneath my department. So that's what we do underneath community development. Now, I want to try to get to the things that y'all want to hear about. And the developments we've had in 24 and what we're looking at in 25, and it's been a great 2 years. We've really had a lot of action. I wasn't real familiar with what happened prior to that, but it's been a lot of activity since then. But when I first got here, I looked at I tried to look at all the statistics and everything, and like you mentioned in the needs assessment, it came down to low wages and lack of opportunities is what you identified, and that's simplistic. Those really are symptoms of something much deeper. And I try to look at it. I've come up with two things, and you could probably say, well, those are simplistic as well. But my two things that I look at is we have a stagnant and even a shrinking population. That's the trend. And we've got an aging population. So our average age in Garrett County is 47.5 years old. Think about that. The national average is 36 years old. So we've got a lot of people like me and not a lot of people like this young lady here. So we've got to turn that around. You know, you could say that's a symptom of something else. It could be, but man, that to me, that's a life and death situation for Garrett County. We've got to figure out how to turn that around. And you put up a slide here that says a lot of it. You know, births are not keeping up with deaths. Average family used to be 2.3 children. Now we're down to 1.6, I think, in each family. Think about that over the course of a generation, what that does to your workforce. And you wonder why you don't have enough people that are entering the workforce. And you wonder why we have 419 jobs that are not filled. We don't have bodies to fill them. Now, specifically here in Garrett County, we've got a problem. We don't have houses to house the ones that want to work, which feeds our problem. Population is going down. You know, that they may be, we think they may be going to the surrounding counties, but then you look at their populations too, and they're stagnant. Nobody's really growing in Appalachia. And we had this discussion earlier, whether it's Appalachia or Appalachia. In Kentucky, they always taught us, we're throwing Appalachia. And so we always do that. And then I think I Googled it, and north of the Mason-Dixon line, they say Appalachia. And so we're right here at the Mason-Dixon line. So I'm trying to figure out what's right. Anyway, Appalachia has this same problem: shrinking population, aging population. So they're not just going to our neighbors, but they're getting out of Appalachia altogether. So we've got to figure out how to get them back. So let's solve those problems. I don't know how to make people have more babies. I can't solve that problem. That's going to have to come from somewhere else. Larry, I don't know if you want to create a new department for that or how we're going to.
At the time, we're trying to cut government spending.
Okay, so you don't want to add anything. Okay, that's good. Very responsible. So anyway, in 2024 and 2025, we've had a lot of victories, and I'm just going to start. Every area of the county, we're seeing some activity. If you think about our industrial parks, okay, let's just start at the Kaiser's Ridge. This is the big news. Kaiser's Ridge Industrial Park up in Grantsville. We just sold a property, and everybody knows who it is, but we're not allowed to say who it is. We're under a non-disclosure agreement. Okay, everybody knows who this company is. We just sold 16.5 acres. They're going to put in a 50,000 square foot warehouse. It's going to be a distribution type service, a final mile distribution for Garrett County. It's going to be 25 to 40 full-time jobs, and those will be, probably $22 to $27 an hour. So those are pretty decent jobs. And then we'll have a lot of 1099 workers, similar to the Door Dashers and the Walmart delivery services. We'll have a lot of those people that go and pick up deliveries and deliver them to the household. So there'll be a lot of opportunity for work. It's a great thing for Garrett County to have a name like they're going to say eventually. They're going to have a press release eventually. So that's a big win for us. We also just put in a centralized propane system up in Garrett County, up in Grantsville, up in our Kaiser Ridge Business Park, because we don't have natural gas up there. And gas is critical for companies like Locate to be able to heat their operations. So we've got a centralized metered propane service that's going to make a difference. Any tenant that comes in will be able to have access to gas heat. So that's a big thing in that park. We've also got a road that should be finished. It's an access road in the park that'll open up another 50 plus acres of lots that we can recruit business there. So big things happen in Kaiser's Ridge. Next park I want to look at. Oh, I forgot, in Kaiser's Ridge, we're getting ready to build a shell building for prospects. It's going to be a 50,000 foot building. You'll see the ground is probably being broken now, and you'll see construction happening this spring and summer, and hopefully we'll have that finished this fall. So that will be something we can market to businesses to come in and utilize to grow their business if it's somebody local, or we can recruit somebody from out of town. what we're seeing more than anything is a lot of local growth. We're seeing, we call it organic growth, and that's the best kind, because if our local companies, let me just name a few bites of them, always trying to grow. Simon Pierce is growing. Garrett Container has been in trying to grow. Companies like that are born and raised here, that continue to grow and be healthy. That's what makes a strong economy. We had Closet Made, if you remember, and they were good for a little bit, and then pulled the plug and they're gone. We had Bosch and Loam, that was good for a while, pulled the plug and they're gone. So these homegrown companies don't just pull the plug and go. They stay and grow. And that's what we want to do. We'd love to see, people like Total Biz come and buy this building or lease this building and grow their operations. So that's what we're doing with the shell building. We'll shift down to the Southern Garrett Business and Technology Park, Sunrise Sanitation. They are bringing their operations up from West Virginia. This is kind of unusual, to locate everything right here in Garrett County. So there's going to be 26 new jobs. Originally, they're going to be down there. They're going to take on some new recycling opportunities. That's always good for the economy, for economic development. It extends the life of our landfill. So they're going to be doing that. You're going to see more of a presence of Sunrise Sanitation doing some new and different things. But that's the last lot we had available in our southern park there. So we're glad to see them grow into it. McHenry Business Park, we've got it under contract now, a company called Cannabarons. I don't know if you're familiar with Cannabarons, but it's part of the Maryland trend of taking cannabis, and we've got growers over in our neighboring Allegheny. Now this will be a microprocessor, and they will put it into gummy form, into powdered drink mix form. They'll put it into, things that I don't even know how you use this stuff, but all different forms that the user can use. And it's a big industry trend in Maryland. And it's, quite frankly, it's making a very big economic impact in the state. So that they're going to be, you'll see them going in this summer. We've got another company called Hannock Homes. You may have seen some of their billboards. They do decks and additions. They're building a new office there in our McHenry Business Park. So that's going to be, that area is growing. Over on Francis Sanders Drive, which is not an industrial park, but you're familiar with CHIPS Network. They just bought some property, and they're going to be building a new building and expanding. They're going into the West Virginia territory with their fiber optics. So it's good to see our locals growing. So that's happening there. 2 minutes. Wow. Airport, got a new manager, Addison Wire. We've got a new project starting off any day now. Going to be biplane tours. That it's going to be an extra tourism thing. It's going to allow people to go up and fly over Deep Creek Lake and see the county. We've got new hangars that are getting ready to be built up there. We've got a 5 to 10 year plan to connect the airport to our McHenry Business Park, so that people that are interested in having access to the airport can. So hopefully be able to recruit some business in that way. So we're got a lot of neat things that have happened and are happening. Solar, that's whether you're a fan of solar or not, Maryland has mandated that we do it. And we right now have 2 of the largest solar fields. By the end of next year, we will have the 2 largest solar fields. One is Backbone Solar, and then we've got another one called Jade Meadow, which is going to be the largest in the state by the time it's done. So a lot of good economic activity. Now, how do we turn that into changing the tide? We're building housing, and we just started a new project. The housing project at Springs is going to be, I think, when it's all said and done, 125 units of supposedly affordable workforce housing. It's not subsidized housing, but hopefully we're going to keep it affordable. We've also got a senior living development in Grantsville, and as seniors go into those, their housing will go back onto the market, make more housing available. And if this project in Grantsville is successful, we're going to turn around and do it again at the old Whiteface Farm in McHenry. So we've got a lot of plans to be able to provide a housing stock so that when our jobs are available, we have homes for our young families to move into, and maybe we can capture, get that population age down and that population number up. So those are our goals. I will open it up. That's a lot to take in. I'll open it up for questions about what we're doing. I got a minute or two. Yes, sir.
Do y'all give tax breaks to companies that are proposing to build in the county?
There are a lot of different incentive packages. Sometimes the state offers them, sometimes the county offers them, sometimes it's a combination of the two. So short answer is yes. We just in our department, we just ask that, bring us your business ideas and let us sit down and let us discuss it with the state, Maryland Commerce, and see what kind of packages we can put together. And then a lot of it's tied to job growth and capital investment. So short answer, yes, but it varies on case to case.
Hey, Steve, real quick, thank you for this. This is great. And thanks for the Senator Edwards Fund. That's been a benefit to the county.
Yeah, and you've been, and I didn't mention the George Edwards Fund. Hopefully we'll get to keep that again this next year or two. But he's a big beneficiary of that and growing. Love it.
So maybe speak to like additional power and broadband coming into the county. Are we looking? I heard we were looking at trying to maybe do a big opportunity for call centers or something like that. Is there?
They're talking about how to keep up with the demand for electricity, and as you know, data centers are a big trend. And just how many of y'all have cell phones? Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody does a Google search. Every time technology gets better, the need for data centers grows. And data centers are energy hogs. And we do not have enough energy here in Maryland to support what we need. So we have to import our electricity from other states. So in order to do that, we need bigger transmission lines. And they're actually, Virginia is doing more than us. So they're trying to get electricity through Maryland down into Virginia. In order to do so, they have to cut across a lot of valuable farmland, and Larry will tell you that's as one of our primary farmers here in this county. It's tough to go across farmland and take all that valuable property just to move electricity, but it's where we are in this world. There's a big demand for electricity. Until we figure out how to meet that demand, it's probably going to happen. Yes, sir.
Does the county still own the Whitewater course on top of the mountain?
County still owns it. He's referring to the ASCII. The county still owns it. It's got some issues right now. We are actually trying to sell it. We put it out for bid and got a couple bids on it, but there are some issues that we're trying to deal with. It has can't say too much, but it's got some court issues that's tied up right now. So the county does own it. Yes. Would like to give it to somebody else if they would take.
Rodney has a question online.
Rodney? Yes, sir.
A lot of our efforts seem to be trying to drive in Garrett County. Now, what can we do to help young people in Garrett County that have a great idea but don't necessarily have the capital to start a business?
All right. Well, we have a few things that we do. We have small business grants that will help young businesses that are trying to grow. They can, as long as the commissioners continue to fund those. We have $1,000 grants out there that it's a 90% match. The county will give 90% if the business owner will do 10%. This year in our budget, we've got something new and different I'm excited about. Traditionally, we've given $5,000 to the Power of Possibilities program at the college. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that program, but it's a long course in entrepreneurial development. To show them how to take a business idea, get it on paper, get it to fruition, and launch it. It's not been a good program as far as making people want to do it, because the $5,000 is not enough help. This year, we're going to put a $20,000 prize at the end. So if you make it through and your business idea is the winning, and you'll open it in Garrett County, we're going to give you $20,000 to launch your business. Now, as a business owner, a former business owner, if I could have had $20,000 to buy my first piece of equipment, I could have I could have launched my career so much faster. And I know that that's what holds some people back when they have good ideas. They just don't have the capital to get started. So hopefully with this program, if we see a success, then maybe we'll talk to commissioners and double it next year, maybe triple it next year. Because I think anytime you invest in good ideas, that's a key to getting economic development going. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of statewide help to help with entrepreneurial ideas, but it's very important. So we're working towards it. Good question.
So where can people afford to live?
Right now,
Yes.
it's a problem. We're working on it.
What's the county actually doing?
We just did a public-private partnership up in Springs.
No.
Okay, Springs project.
That doesn't count. What's affordable?
Well, for the county's purposes, it's not subsidized. It's workforce housing, and kind of the what we use to gauge that. Take 2 teachers, fresh out of college, working in Garrett County, and with the blueprint, they're going to be making $60,000 each. So $120,000 in the household. Now they probably got a little student debt. They probably just purchased the first vehicle. They got some vehicle debt, things of that nature. What do they qualify for?
Nothing.
Well, they cannot get anything over $250,000. That's about the farthest limit that a bank would even go to that. So we are trying to keep our housing under 250, 175 to 250, and there's all different forms of housing in there. Now, there is subsidized housing that they won't qualify for because they make too much money, right? And so that's a problem. So that's the Community Action Agency kind of deals with that end of it. The county is dealing with the workforce housing. We call it attainable housing. We're trying to change the verbiage there away from affordable to attainable, because affordable does mean so many things to many different people. But at whatever income you're making, I'll get right with you. Whatever income you're making, we want to have a house that you can afford. So there should be some on the market this fall and next year. And like I said, hopefully within 2 years, we'll have 125 of those units available. And then if that model works, then we're gonna duplicate it on a bigger scale. Does that kind of answer what you're asking? Because right now there's just not anything. There's no rentals. There's no homes in that market range. Everything's $350,000 to $400,000. And if you do find one in that range, you're going to need to spend $100,000 to get it renovated and fixed up. And my wife and I found that out firsthand when we moved here. We lived in an RV for 4 months because there was nothing.
Yeah. Well, of course, part of the problem with that is, it's kind of a delicate subject, I know, but you got 2 things kind of working at cross purposes, because you want the affordable housing on one end, but then you got so many people who have these investment properties on the other end, and they're not going to suffer, any decrease in the property values to make things more affordable. So, how do you kind of reconcile that?
Well, when I moved here, I heard it called the Tale of Two Cities.
Yeah.
And it really is. We've got Garrett County, and we've got the little pocket in the middle of Garrett County where all the wealth is.
And of course, that makes everything balloon.
Yeah, and it kind of stretches everything here. It's a problem that obviously it's been growing for a while, and it's not just here; it's nationwide. This is a problem. Everybody's having a problem with workforce, affordable housing for different reasons. We've got our reasons why we're struggling with it, and other places have their reasons. So, tell you what's gonna turn this trend around, and it's not nothing you want to hear, but you're familiar with the baby boomer generation. By the year 2040, and I'm right there on the edge of that, the baby boomer generation will be gone. And think about everybody that's in that generation that owns a home, and their children are off somewhere, and they don't want those homes. So all of a sudden, it's going to start happening in the next 5, 7, 8, 10 years. All of a sudden, you're going to see the shortage of housing turn into an abundance of housing, but it's going to require a lot of work to make it livable. That's the problem we're getting ready to get into. Now, we will have enough affordable housing, but it's going to take a lot of help to get it renovated. You don't see that coming? And I look at Allegheny County next door. If you ever drive through Allegheny County, not to pick on them, but they were once a population center, and it went away. Now you've got a bunch of old homes, and they're trying to renovate it. And we're gonna be faced with that same kind of dilemma once this generation is gone. I know we're probably, y'all want to go to work, right?
In high schools, is there much effort made to try and educate the seniors as to the jobs that are in fact available?
The high schools are doing their best to get the kids ready to come out and be ready to work, and they're doing a good job. It's just they said there's not enough. We don't have enough at that age because the average family is only doing 1.6 children as opposed to 2.3 in my generation, and so that's down. And then because of this Appalachian problem, young families are going elsewhere, and so we don't have enough children coming through the school system, and therefore we've had to close schools here in Garrett County. And they've talked about closing another school because they don't have enough students. So there's our problem. It's that the schools are doing a great job with what they've got, but we don't have enough coming through the school system to solve our problems.
So this is the perfect transition to getting us ready for the community health improvement plan. Woo, yeah. But I mean, I think it would be a good opportunity to document it and really figure out, like how all of the partners can come to the table on that.
Yeah, and he mentioned it. Bring the tide up and all boats rise. So there's not one thing. There's not 10 things. It's everything. Everything that can be improved. We just need to pull together and improve it, whatever area it is, and that's the way you approach economic development. Just every decision you make sure it impacts quality of life for our residents and for our visitors, and you've solved economic development. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm sorry if I went over. I am a little long-winded sometimes. Thank you.
Okay, our final topic is the updates, and I'll start in the room here.
Actually, before that, we forgot to put on the agenda, we have cancer control.
Oh, okay.
We don't have anything? Not today. Today. Sorry, don't worry about it. Just wanted to make sure we didn't skip them. No.
Agency updates. Anyone in the room?
We have the 360 Access Hub, which is the new food bank resource center, having an open house tomorrow night from 4 to 6. That's at 360 West Liberty. And guests who will be utilizing that resource center are invited to attend, and any volunteers, if anyone's interested in, taking a peek and learning about and providing ideas about what that center could be and wanting to be part of that, welcome to come out. We're going to have a pretty informal tour and just some great discussion, hopefully.
We are also less than 2 weeks away from the Garrett County Health Fair, so I hope I won't see you there. I have to take a midterm, unfortunately. I would rather switch if anybody wants to trade me. But I hope that you are all at the Garrett County Health Fair. It's a really good opportunity to connect with folks. Sometimes people whom you might not see in your programs, in your agencies. It's a great observational learning experience too, even if you're just floating around, don't have a vendor booth. But we hope to see you there. There's a lot of stuff. We have 4 different demonstrations happening. We have more actual services that will be provided than we have in the past. So there's a whole list of those I just published the other day that's available on the health department website. But there's even seated massages, like there's all kinds of good stuff. So we're really hoping that this could be a year where we kind of ramp the numbers back up and get people engaged. But please share it with all of your agencies, all of the people who, you know, your stakeholders, your clients, whoever they may be, whatever you may call them. Please share that information. If you need anything, please let me know, and I can help get you some of that information, help you get some of the marketing materials. But we really want to make sure that, you know, this is a big event that helps all of these different programs make the most of it, connect them to care. I think, you know, some of our personal health, the cancer programs, we got all kinds of people that'll be there. So looking forward to that, and let me know if you have any questions.
Anyone else in the room? Anyone else online have an update?
I do have an update. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
That was looking at me. I forgot about it. During the last meeting, I gave out the Cancer Coalition ethics forms. I do believe that Beth provided the exemption forms guidance on exactly how to complete that. But I just wanted to explain, it is only for consumer and permanent members of the Health Planning Council. If you're just visiting, you don't have to complete it. Basically, all it does is that you sign that you don't have any financial interest in decision making regarding the Cancer Coalition, so you don't actually get any funds from my grant. That's all it is. I don't think anybody has a financial interest, so pretty much everybody would hit or sign no and just send it back to me. I just have to send it to the Ethics Commission.
These were emailed out, but if you are in the room and you want to stop and sign a paper, I do have them here.
I've never had anybody who needed to be exempt for a certain amount of money. It's just a requirement that it's signed.
Yeah. Steve done a real nice job of telling what the county's doing. What he maybe didn't point out is the county is putting a lot of money in the infrastructure of these homes that are being built. Putting money into that, or putting money into other things that'll help bring businesses into the county. All that ties in to our budget. And having said that, we're probably the only county in Maryland that's not going to have raised taxes because our finances right now are in very good shape. Excellent shape, actually. And even with the mandates from the schools and everything that we have to add to our budget because the state or the federal government isn't paying for something, the next 2 years looks very good for us. After that, I don't know. But financially, we're in very good shape, but we're still putting money into projects that will help grow Garrett County. So, Steve, thank you for a good presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner Kitchell. Anyone online have an update they'd like to share? Seeing no hands or anyone offering anything. Our next meeting is April 24th, 8 a.m. here. Thank you all for coming.